What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grindline Podcast. I am your host, Greg. You're listening to episode 226.
Wow.
I am here. Yeah, wow. I am here tonight with Ryan. Tyler's grocery shopping.
What do you think? Do you eat eggs? That fucker eats more eggs, I swear, than anyone known to mankind.
Does he eat them raw? Does he just like shoot a cup full of raw eggs?
Snorts them.
Yeah. Oh, God. Would you drown it?
Get the whites laid out in lines and just snorts the egg whites.
I swear, Tyler is the worst time management ever. Like, we tell him, like, Tyler, we generally record Monday nights at like 8:15. Great time to record. And Tyler is either 20 minutes late or gets stuck doing something completely unknown and doesn't make it. So Tyler is bad at time management. That's the lesson of today, just because it's been really, really not fun. But how are you, Ryan?
Not too bad. I was just telling you beforehand, it's been a long few days. Chelsea's grandmother unfortunately passed away. 93 years old. She lived a fantastic life. She's been battling just illness and other things the past year. She unfortunately passed away, not this past Saturday, but the week before that. So this past week, we had a lot of family from her side coming into town, and everyone got together. And it was nice. It was rough but nice, and that was made last week long. Then I was out of town for softball, so it's been a tiring week, for a lack of better words.
Well, condolences, but at 93, you're just battling being old. Yeah. That's what it is like. Like you're fighting a clock. She was still
feisty as ever up until right before. So
that's how it goes for a lot of them. They just like they'll die on their own terms. They die on their own terms, man. They're not going to let anything take them out. But we do have a show tonight. There was some controversy at the Worlds after my my post last week about it. My quick hits episode, since everyone abandoned me. I had a 15-minute episode.
I had good reason.
If you haven't listened to it, you can go back. It was 4 games through, and now I think we're 6 games through. So it's a little outdated, but there's still some good information in there. We have a Kyle Dubas firing. We've got some word from Brendan Shanahan. RFAs that are up for maybe offer sheet. So we're going to take a look at a few of those and see what we think. But I want to start with the Joe Veleno controversy at the Worlds. Joe Veleno has been suspended 5 games, which is, I think, the rest of the tournament.
Is it really a controversy or just stupidity?
Maybe. Okay, so I don't think there's controversy. No. There are people that do think it's a controversy. Not a huge amount of people, because it's clear what happened deserved an expansion. An expansion? What the fuck's an expansion? A suspension. Deserved a suspension. Joe Veleno stomped on the leg of Swiss captain Nino Niederreiter, which I have in my notes how I spelled Niederreiter. Nederiter. Not how you fucking spell it at all, but it got the point across.
Yep, you said it right. So
yeah, well, I know how to say it. 5-game suspension. That well deserved.
Is that like the standard length of suspension for that type of thing?
No, I thought it would be much longer. They've suspended people for like 20 games of international play before. But crazy dangerous move. You can't go stomping on a dude's leg with a knife foot. Like, what is wrong with you?
And there was no hiding what happened either. Was it called immediately?
No, he didn't get a penalty. Nino Niederreiter got a penalty for responding to it.
His retaliation when he tried to beat the living shit out of him.
Yeah, there was no penalty to Joe Veleno on the play. But, I mean, it's just something you can't do. And there are people that are trying to explain it away. And the only situation I could see is maybe Joe Veleno was trying to force his foot in between Nino Niederreiter's foot and the board to play the puck. Sure. Only thing you could even maybe remotely say. But again, I don't think I've ever seen someone stomp with that much force to try to force their foot between a skate and the board.
Like, it was like a horse back kick the way that he wound up on that thing.
Or that high up on the leg. Because he got him, like, on the shin. Like, right in the middle of the shin is where he ended up stomping. So Joe Veleno gets 5 games for that.
High?
It was pretty high. Yeah, it was high.
I'm watching it in slow motion right now.
I had to watch the clip a couple times just to figure out what happened.
I wasn't expecting noise. Yeah, it was like midway up the shin. I mean, if he was going for the boards, I mean, his net, it's hard to tell by the angle. You can argue that was what he was trying, but man, that was because the way the follow through, he does go through to the boards. So I
Yep.
can see where the tinfoil hat would be for that one. And I can't fault you for thinking one way or the other. But regardless, like if he would have come through from the front, maybe trying to hit his foot out of the way, anything but the way that he ended up committing to it, you can't be surprised that he got suspended for that.
Well, what a lot of people are saying is they're like, well, Joe Veleno, he's known to be like a pretty upstanding dude, like a level headed guy, passion for the game, really like, I mean, jovial and nice and follows the rules and whatever you want to say about him. But Joe Veleno's been suspended in international play before. In 2019, he was suspended as a 19-year-old for one game for headbutting a Russian player in a 6-0 loss. So Canada did end up losing that game to Switzerland as well. So I mean, maybe just in the international play, he doesn't care. He just lets his temper get the best of him and lashes out. But I mean, it's something you absolutely can't do because, like I said, you're stepping on a dude with a knife foot, and you're going to hurt someone. Granted, they do have shin pads, but we've seen what happens when you catch a guy in the wrong area.
Yeah. I mean, where he stomped, like you're borderline, he almost caught the ankle, like above the skate right there, where the skate and the shin pad come together. Like that could have been bad. Because you look at it right now, and I'm sorry, I'm like watching this as I'm trying to talk, but you've got a stick from someone. It might have been a Canada player. Niederreiter's skate is pushing the stick up against the puck. Nothing's moving. So his intent there, and again, this is where I can see where people are going with this angle, is trying to get the skate off the stick to try to move the puck. But the way that he did it was just stupid.
Yeah, you can slide your foot in there or you don't have to stomp. You can kick your foot in there and try and get away. I'll allow the kicking of someone else's foot. That's fine. It's the stomping. Like you could easily end someone's career that way. Very
It could have been really bad. I'm sure there was a good gash in the pad there too.
Sure. I would like to see it. I mean, I would have went on social media right after the game and put a picture up just like, not cool, man.
Or
Please
hold up
don't
the
do
media,
that.
let them put it out there.
Yeah, Nino even said the same thing. He's like, you just can't do that. Like, that is not something that you do. And you know better. You've been playing professional hockey for a long time. You played juniors for a long time. You know how sharp those skates are. Your temper can't get to you like that. And that's what I'm going to assume it was temper. Because I can't see a rational explanation for doing that, especially since you know what the repercussions of doing something like that is. Even if it's, I meant to put my skate between the skate and the board, you can't play it off like that because you're going to get suspended for it.
Especially international. They are far more, if you do something stupid, you're getting suspended or severe penalties for it. NHL to be like, hey, don't do that. You'll get a fine, what have you. But you
get the George Peros wheel of justice.
Yeah, on the NHL side. IIHF though, they will suspend you for coughing the wrong way.
Bottom line, they don't fuck around. Joe Veleno out 5 games. So we're going to move on. And actually, before we move on to it, do you think that affects his contract with Detroit at all? Because he's got a contract coming up.
No. I don't think that he was going to get anything too crazy. But no.
No, I had said on the last episode that I think he gets a Rasmussen-style contract, bumps him a little over $1 million for a few years, see if he kind of expands on what his game is. Because he's become a steady, like, fourth line forward, like fourth line center.
I don't think he should make more than Raz's current contract. If he came in at 1.4, so he'd be
no. I would give him the same thing.
You go the exact same.
Yeah, give him the same contract.
Make him earn it.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't see any reason. That. It's cheap and it's controllable, and if you need to move him, you can move him, and it's under $2 million. So
yeah.
So we're gonna move on. Kyle Dubas got fired. Haha! Suck it, Kyle Dubas.
What are they doing?
I think they ask themselves that same question like every single day.
Of all the people, to me, that didn't deserve to be fired out of that situation, it was him.
I mean, he's pretty bad at cap management.
Okay, sure. We can shit on the GMs that are dead in the cap right now all day because it hasn't gone up. No fault to their own per se, but we can point that finger at Bettman. But he still has built a top tier roster.
Matt Murray.
but you look at what they've been able to do point wise the last several years.
Yeah, he's
That's huge.
221, 109, and 42 as a GM of that team.
Pretty good. To me, you have to look at who's controlling those guys, not him. The fact that Keefe wasn't the first one to be chopped says more about what the hell they're doing than anything else, because I get it. He was a pretty guy out of the AHL. He jumped right in and kind of turned him around a bit, if you will. But if that's where you're going to make heads start rolling, it's either you don't do it this season and see what happens going into after the upcoming year, or Keefe was your guy that's out right now, not Dubas. I don't understand it, because now you're going to bring in a brand new GM. You could end up still getting a brand new coach out of this. You don't know how they're going to handle the big four, quote unquote. And I think that just caused more unnecessary chaos, which I love. Let's not get this mixed up here. I love it seeing Toronto in utter fucking chaos. But why would you fire him? And now he's already getting rumored. You got Pittsburgh already asking to talk to him. Like, what?
Yeah, that's one of the rumors that he's now linked to the Penguins, which, I mean, it'd be interesting to see happening there, because if he goes there, does he try to extend the Penguins window? Or is he the one to tear it down and rebuild the Penguins?
You have to tear it down.
But I wonder how much upper management and ownership says we don't want to do that, because it's a shitty process. We know from experience it's a shitty process to tear down and rebuild. It sucks. And I'm not sure they want to do that. But Kyle Dubas, like, I think part of it too is Sheldon Keefe is Kyle Dubas's boy. Like, that's why he was there. So I don't think in any world was Kyle Dubas going to fire him. And the report was, and I mean, it's just a report that someone put out, is that Dubas, like, his agent phoned Shanahan and is like, I want a raise. And then Shanny went out and fired him. So
how much did he have left?
I think this was his last year and he was up for a contract. It's a weird situation. And then Chris Johnston, as a writer for TSN, reported that Brendan Shanahan phoned each one of the Leafs' top players to share the news about Kyle Dubas, and that those players came away from those conversations under the belief that Shanahan's intentions are to bring the entire core four back.
Okay.
And all of that, if you bring back that entire core now, depending on what GM you're going to hire, he might have his own plans. You're going to have to give the GM control of that team. But, I mean, I can't see running back that same team and just saying, okay, well, now we're going to try and win after you literally made it out of the first round, which you hadn't done in forever, and then you almost got swept in the second. There's no way. There's no way you run that back.
And not to mention, they're at currently, so thank you, Cap Friendly, for already being in off-season mode. They've got 14 guys under contract and already $73.5 million in a cap hit. The projected salary cap is $83.5 million. They've only got $9.9 million to sign roughly 7 to 9 more players to make this roster whole again. And I'm not even sure if that's including the guys that they have on LTIR.
No, it's not. So you got to think that now who's going to come off LTIR? Is Jake Muzzin going to come off LTIR? Is he ever going to play again?
Huh?
Is he ever going to play again, Jake Muzzin?
Probably not. Oh, no. And it's only 1 year that they have to worry about with it. And the other one's Nick Robertson.
Yep. But if you look, Matt Murray's got another season at $4.6 million.
They got to sign.
Yeah, sure. You've got to sign Eric Gustafson if you want to keep him. He's 31. Justin Hole's 31. Luke Shen, 33. You traded for these guys. Like, are you going to try and re-sign Ryan O'Reilly? He's 32. Mm-hmm. Like, Noel Achari, he's 31. Zach Aston Reese, they might let go. Michael Bunting's almost assuredly gone. David Kampf is probably gone. Do they sign Kerfoot? Or do they let him walk? And if you're letting all these guys walk, are you just going to fill the bottom with scrubs? And then you've got an even worse team. Like, what are you doing? If you're gonna go tell, hey, Matthews, Tavares, Marner, and Nylander, your jobs are all 100% safe. 100%. Morgan Riley, you can't trade. He's got a no-move clause, and he's signed through the end of eternity, 2029, 2030.
He's got a no-move clause in July 1st, 2028 is when he's got that 10-team no trade list.
And you know the easiest way of getting rid of players? Giving picks away with them. So you can say, hey, we'll trade you Matt Murray and a second-round pick if you just eat his contract for nothing. Well, for a seventh. The Leafs ain't got picks. In the first 4 rounds this year, they have Boston's first rounder this year. And that's it. They don't have their own first rounder. They don't have their second rounder, third rounder, or fourth rounder. They have 3 picks in this draft. They don't have their second or their own third in next draft. So like they made all these trades and they traded away all these picks and they jammed up their cap space because they thought they were going to win. And they have bad thoughts because that never happens, guys. It never happens. And I guess I don't know if they're saying all you 4 are coming back, where do they go from here? Because I mean, unless you're lying, unless you're saying, hey, we tried. And the other rumor that was out there was that Austin Matthews probably wasn't going to sign by July 1st if they kept Dubas. I guess I just don't understand. Like, Shanahan, if I was Shanahan, I'd quit. Like,
no, we want the internal sabotage to continue.
I guess, but I mean, it just seems like such a mess out there that they need to do like a tear down, not a full tear down, but like,
you don't
keep 2 guys.
I mean, think about what you could get, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if you want to supplement your roster further, if you were to trade away a Mitch Marner, not saying they're going to do that, but you can get 2 very good roster players as a fill-in in a trade. If a team is willing to do, or a very good roster player and a top-tier prospect.
I'll tell you, if I'm a team, I'm not doing Toronto any favors.
No, unless it's for. I mean, I would go for Marner and Nylander all day, or Matthews. But you're not the what it's going to cost is going to be ridiculous.
I guess I just don't understand. Like, if I'm a GM and I get hired in, I'm saying, guys, I'm trading 2 of these guys. 2 of them are going to go, and we're going to get players back for them that are probably good, and we're going to get prospects that are probably almost NHL ready to go, and we're going to get a couple high picks for these players. And we're going to balance this fucking roster because it is an abomination once you get to the middle 6, what is happening. Because all your like your top line, if you've got Marner, Tavares, Matthews, and then you've got Nylander on your second line just tearing it up. But then your next best player is what? Calle Yarncroc, Michael Bunting, Alex Kerfoot, Ryan O'Reilly. But Ryan O'Reilly's gone. Kerfoot's probably gone. Mm-hmm. You got Matthew Nyes, who has a concussion. So I guess
he'll be good. He'll be probably good long term.
Oh yeah, he'll be good long term.
At what level? Like if he's your middle 6, you're not in a bad spot there.
Exactly. So that's the mess in Leafs land. I guess it's just, to me, I thought everyone was going to get fired. I thought Shanahan was going to get fired. I thought Dubas was going to get fired. First. I thought all 3 of them were going to go. Keefe, Dubas, Shanahan, rebuild it again. Just everyone. Hire from the top to the bottom and let it go. But it just looks like it probably just going to be Dubas. And then when the GM comes in, Keefe could get fired because the GMs sometimes want to bring in their own guys.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting, I guess, to see what happens there. But it's just right now, it just seems like a big headache that if I was Shanahan, I would have walked away.
What's funny, too, when you look at what's going on in terms of the GMs, everyone that's been like, quote unquote, linked, which is really just the speculation that's coming from the media at this point, is all former GMs that have all pretty much ran teams into the ground, but had like 1 or 2 good years, like Chiarelli.
Wasn't Chiarelli mentioned? Yeah. Chiarelli was mentioned as a replacement. Like all the names that were mentioned as a replacement were terrible. Drager on That's Hockey named some experienced candidates that the Leafs may be looking at. Treliving, Ray Shiro, Peter Chiarelli, and Mark Bergevin. Also named Scott Mellenby, as he doesn't have a GM experience, but has been knocking on the door for a position for some time. Just imagine the absolute fire that would happen in Toronto if Chiarelli.
I want it so bad.
More than life itself. Please give me Chiarelli to Toronto and just destroys the entire organization. It'd be the best thing.
Like for a guy to get ran out of town in several different organizations to then go to the most focused organization in all of hockey, of the media.
Oh, man.
Give me that friggin' chaos.
and then just watch him go ahead and make the disastrous move of hiring Joel Quenneville as the coach.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And that's another thing that Gary Bettman's like, we need to distract, because the other thing that we haven't mentioned yet is Arizona just falls further into the abyss that is the
What
Coyotes.
is going on? Like, how is this even? Go ahead.
They don't want him. Like, they don't want him there, and they vote no. And then they're saying, "Well, it's all politics." I mean,
say what it was. Say what actually was voted no on.
So Tempe had up for vote whether they would approve this entertainment district, and the citizens of Tempe said no. We don't want to put our tax money toward an entertainment district for a hockey team that sucks, and their owners suck, and their owners don't care about fielding a good team, and we don't want it here. We don't want it. We don't want to pay for this. And Gary Bettman, first for a while, Salt Lake City was floated around as a replacement, and now
I feel like that'd be a good one.
I don't know, but Gary Bettman is saying that basically we're not done. We're not done with Arizona. We're gonna try to find another location. But like, no one wants you, Gary. Like, this is PSA. Welcome to my TED Talk, Gary Bettman. No one in Arizona wants to watch your shitty team play hockey. It's
a little frustrating because that was when Shane Doan was there. It was
just Shane Doan. It was just Shane Doan.
They gave Detroit for several years a run for their money, and it was a good little, I don't want to call it a rivalry, but it was a good matchup. And it was always a good physical game with them out there.
I don't know. I mean, would I hate another Dallas team, or would I hate another Texas team? Yes. Put them in Houston. I bet you they pack the arena. They have an instant rivalry with Dallas. I mean, sure.
Salt Lake City, I didn't realize was so in the middle of nothing.
Yeah, you'd have to call them the Stormin' Mormons. That's what they would be. The Salt Lake City Stormin' Mormons. It was that or the Salt Lake City pastrami burgers, because they're apparently known for what's called a pastrami burger. It is like a double cheeseburger, but they put shaved pastrami on top, which fucking sounds amazing.
On top of the burger?
On top of the burger, like as well as the burger.
What dressing is there? Is it ketchup? Is it like Thousand Island? What do they put on it?
You call what you put on top of a burger dressing?
Well, no, I was thinking pastrami,
like
so I think dressing rather than whatever.
I don't know, but they look phenomenal. Like, it is something I would eat. Like, I'd tell them to send me 3.
Hold on, now I gotta look this up. Pastrami.
But pastrami burger. But I don't think that I think that Houston probably is a more viable market than Salt Lake City. If I'm being honest. So it's just a huge giant mess out there. And that's,
oh my God.
Again, so we go from one mess in Toronto to a mess in Arizona, and you say, "What's happening?"
Burger's a mess, and it looks fantastic.
I know, right? Looks like a heart attack, but that's. Wow. I mean, it normally tastes really good. Ryan's enamored with this pastrami burger. The look on, he got really. If you're not watching on YouTube, he leaned in real close to the screen to get a really good look at this pastrami burger.
They built this thing out. This one's a pound of ground beef, half pound of pastrami sliced.
See?
4 slices of Swiss cheese, some clove garlic minced, optional, salt, freshly ground black pepper.
Throw some bacon on that.
Oh. Ooh, they did a Thousand Island or a Russian type dressing. 1/2 cup mayo, 1/4 cup ketchup, a teaspoon of horseradish, and a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Ooh.
See? Now we're going to have to go to make a trip to Salt Lake City to get us started with pastrami burger.
Fuck that. I'm going to make it.
This is a good, you know what? Good place to take a break. We're going to take a break for a minute. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors to talk about RFAs and possible offer sheets. We'll be right back in just a minute. Light the lamp during the hockey playoffs with DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can make a $5 bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. You can always take the underdog, so like the Florida Panthers and the Seattle Kraken, to win tonight to make some bonus money. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and sign up with code THPN. New customers can make a $5 hockey playoff bet and score $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN, only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. Let's face it, with coffee starting at $5, yes, even without any customizations, and our bank account somehow always depleting, we are officially entering a dupe session. Most products do the same thing, but are priced differently solely based on brand name. So a good duplicate or dupe is crucial for getting the highest quality at the best price. One dupe you definitely shouldn't sleep on, Raycon wireless earbuds. Raycon is a premium audio that is perfect price point, so you can listen to what you want, when you want, without breaking the bank. Raycon's mission is to prove that you shouldn't have to pay an arm and a leg for quality sound and essential smart tech listening features. You can get a pair and a spare and still pay less than you would with some of those other more big name tech brands out there. Raycon knows that in this economy, every purchase needs to be perfect. They offer buy now, pay later options. Right now, you can pay as low as $18 at checkout. They have an easy and free return guarantee, offer 2 years of product protection insurance just for a few bucks, and free domestic shipping and flat fee international shipping. They have over 50,000 five-star reviews. With features such as customizable sound profiles, earbud tap functions, noise isolation, and awareness mode, you cannot go wrong with Raycon earbuds. Go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get 15% off your Raycon order. That's buyraycon.com/THPN to score 15% off. Buyraycon.com/THPN. And we're back, and I think
Hello.
Ryan has finished his macaroni and cheese. Ryan, are you done?
I still like have half a bowl going.
What one is that?
It's the fancy one again.
Is it the Gouda?
I think she I think she mixed Gouda and Italian.
How much macaroni and cheese are you eating?
Well, it's called leftovers, Greg.
Okay. I can't do leftover mac and cheese. The cheese gets weird.
With this one, you can.
It like remelts.
Yes, it doesn't get weird.
It's that Velveeta style cheese. That's why. Okay.
It's not your typical Kraft where you reheat it and it's like you're eating rubber.
Yeah, with that, you've got to put butter in it when you reheat it, and then it turns out real good. But enough about macaroni and cheese because now I'm going to be real hungry.
Kroger brand.
Yeah, I'm going to be really hungry now, but we're going to talk about RFAs. So offer sheets be damned. I love them. I love offer sheets. It's hilarious. It makes for good social media. Teams get pissed off at each other. You burn bridges. It's fantastic.
And it's worked out great for frickin' Carolina.
So 11 years ago, Steve Yzerman is on record saying he hates offer sheets. He said he hates offer sheets because generally you have to, 11 years ago. He says you have to overpay players in order to get them on an offer sheet, basically. But now, with COVID and with a cap crunch, I don't think that's necessarily true anymore. There are now teams that can't afford their players, so you don't have to overpay them. You just have to basically pay them their going rate as long as the other team can't match. So It's a numbers game at this point. So Sportsnet put out an article. I was like, I wonder who the RFAs are. And Sportsnet does have an article that says NHL's top 12 RFAs of 2023. So this is by Luke Fox. Thank you, Luke Fox, who has an awesome Twitter handle. Luke Fox Jukebox is his Twitter handle. It is amazing, and I love it. His top RFA is Pierre-Luc Dubois. I say zero chance. I say zero chance, though. I think
zero chance that he makes it, or what?
That he accepts an offer sheet from anywhere other than the Montreal Canadiens.
Fair.
Because
he is Canadian, French Canadian.
He wants to go to Montreal.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
He wasn't thrilled, I think, when he got drafted by Columbus. And rightfully so, they traded him away to Winnipeg. And it's been rumored. Actually, I don't even know if it's not really a rumor. I think it's a known fact that he hasn't been happy in Winnipeg.
No, it even says here that Kevin Cheveldayoff must find the best deal possible this summer. And if a long-term extension cannot be reached quickly, Dubois himself has been diplomatic but non-committal. Quote, if I think of anything else than finishing first in the West and winning the Stanley Cup, it'd be a disservice to my teammates, the coaching staff, and everybody. So that's not saying I want to sign. That's saying I'm focused on hockey. They're saying that a long-term deal for Dubois should get an AAV in the $9 million range. So really? I think that's kind of high. But
really,
I can't see him going to anywhere but Montreal. And I think Cheveldayoff's smart move would be trade him to the Canadiens.
$9 million, and he's his highest point total is 63 this past year.
Yeah, he's big and he hits people though.
I mean, he is a good two-way guy. I'll give him that. Center, 24 years old. Maybe he's starting to hit that stride, but I mean,
I just think he's playing. He's not 100% happy where he's been playing. So put him where he wants to play and watch him
I mean,
pop off.
he still put up 61 points in Columbus one year. I mean, the next year he had 48, 61, 49 in Columbus. Then he was hurt. And COVID year with Winnipeg, he put up 20 and 41. And then 60 last season, 63 this season. I mean, he stayed pretty consistently healthy as well. So 9 million though.
Yeah, I don't see it happening, but again, I just trade him to the Canadiens. That's what I would do. The next couple on the list, Timo Meier and Jesper Bratt over in New Jersey. New Jersey has a shit ton of cap space. They should have zero issues. Yeah, they have more cap space than us. They should have zero issues signing both of those players to long-term deals. If that's what they want to do.
12 guys under contract going into next season.
Yeah, Timo Meier. The problem with Timo Meier is that his qualifying offers $10 million. So you've basically got to give him that.
And that's what, 4 first rounders to get.
If you offer sheet him, yeah, I think that's 4 first rounders or 3 first rounders. I have to go back to the calculator. Let's see. If I want 10 million, that's a lot of zeros, for 7 years to Detroit. That is 4 first round picks.
Pass.
The first round picks start at 10.5 million per season to infinity. If you give them infinity dollars, it's 4 first round picks. That's maximum comp. So I no, I mean, it's too much. It's too much money for the qualifying offer. Now, could you trade for his signing rights? You could. You could trade for his signing rights, but that's, I mean, that just says, hey, that gets you into contract negotiations, which they can do that. They don't have.
But you got to think that if they're going to make that type of trade, they're still looking for similar compensation to an offer sheet.
Yeah. But you don't have to give him that $10 million. Like, that's the qualifying offer. They can say, hey, dude, you know you're not a $10 million player. Here's our best offer for you. And same thing with Jesper Bratt. They can do the same thing. They can say, hey, now Jesper Bratt's salary this season was 2.75, and they've got the money to bring him back. And if you build around Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes, and Timo Meier on the front end, I think you're fine. They're good in New Jersey, and you fill your team in. And I don't think there's any issue signing both those guys. Now, the next one, though, is where I think we get interesting. And that is Cole Caulfield in Montreal. So Cole Caulfield this season, and if I can bring up stats, maybe. Yep, I can. Cole Caulfield in 46 games played this season has 26 goals, 10 assists for 36 points. He only played half season because he was hurt. He's 5'7", 174 pounds. So we know Cole.
He's only 5'7"?
5'7". Yeah, he's short. But the dude can score. And we saw what happened after St. Louis went in there. And he turned on the Jets and he started scoring in 36 points in 46 games. It's good for your second full air quotes season in the NHL. Montreal goes into the offseason with about 8.49 million. Now that's not counting Carey Price's LTIR, but they have 20 guys under contract. They are a bad hockey team, like bad. Like they need to make some changes to get good, unless they want to run it back and go for the draft again, which to me doesn't make much sense. The only guys they have coming up in 2024-25 are guys like Edmondson, Justin Barron, Chris Weidman, Rem Pitlick, and Mike Hoffman. So Mike Hoffman will be 34. This season, they've got Dennis Gurianov and Michael Pezzetta, who are RFAs. They've got Alex Belzile, Jonathan Drouin, and Chris Tierney, who are UFAs. Cole Caulfield should probably get a contract in the $7.5 million range.
I think that'd be fair.
I would offer, now if you offer sheet him 5 years, $7.5 million, compensation's a first, a second, and a third. That I think I'm okay with. We've got several second round picks. We've got a third round pick. Cole Caulfield is 22 years old. So it's not like you're offer sheeting a 25-year-old. You're offer sheeting a 22-year-old. and he's a proven goal scorer. He gets points. The dude has
If it's
offense.
next year's first round pick, because we're talking post draft, correct?
I believe you can offer sheet post draft because the draft is at the end of June and free agency opens up on the 1st of July.
So if that's the case, absolutely.
I don't see a reason not to.
Now, I get a lot, maybe you could argue, depends on what Detroit ends up picking with that number 9 pick.
Yep.
But at the same time, we know this is a team that needs goal scorers and playmakers. More so the goal scoring front. This is a guy that can put the puck in the net pretty much regardless of the situation. And it's a guy that I was hoping Detroit could have somehow landed when he was in his draft year, but it didn't work out that way, whatever. So to bring in a player like this, and again, my comparable is like a Marty St. Louis, I don't think you're in a bad spot. And if it was a first, second, and a third, that's a guy that I would not be upset losing that compensation for in a way.
Yeah, I think they would match. That's the thing because
Probably.
they've got the LTIR.
They've already lost
overage.
one of their top picks to an offer sheet. You can't think they're going to let that happen again.
They're like, oh God, they're just every free agency. They're just shaking in a corner because they're like, we could get offer sheeted again. It's going to happen again. But they could dig into the Carey Price LTIR. But that's the thing is like, how are they going to improve their team to not be a basement team? Unless they don't care about being a basement team again. I mean, Slavkovsky's got another season at 950,000 because he's on a entry level contract.
Yep.
Zhekaj got another 800 or 1 year left on $828,000.
No, Slavkovsky's got 2 more years at his entry level.
Yeah, 1 year past next season. I'm looking at like next season because their cap friendly is on off season mode. So I think they'd match it, but I think you'd really piss him off because he'd say, well, Detroit's going to give me 5 years, $7.5 million. And at that point, do they say, would we rather have the cap space to go sign a couple guys, or do we want to hold on to Cole Caulfield for 5 more years at least? So that's an interesting one that I found there that I'm like, well,
and their team not hurting with draft picks either. So if they were to stock up on something like that, in a way, you're helping them long term.
Yeah, because going into next season, this draft, they've got 2 firsts, a second, a third, 3 fourths, 2 fifths. So they've got draft picks. Next season, they have their own first, and they have Colorado's second. So, yeah, you're right. They're not hurting with draft picks, but
yeah, it's not a Toronto situation where you're like,
yeah. The next one on the list was Alex DeBrincat. I'm not offer sheeting DeBrincat. If you do anything, you trade for him. The offer sheet is, I don't think his qualifying offer is $9 million. Alex DeBrincat's. So he's already said that he doesn't want to be there. Basically, that please trade me. So I think he'd be trading for Alex DeBrincat. I don't even think it's worth including him on this list. Next, Troy Terry. Now that's where it gets weird. Troy Terry and Trevor Zegras are on this list. My problem with that is Anaheim also has a shit ton of cap space.
Yeah,
they're going into the offseason with $39 million. And I would consider Troy Terry and Trevor Zegras as part of your core now. Troy Terry is 25, which kind of caught me off guard. I thought he was a little younger. And Zegras is 22. So you could still build around guys that are 25, and I don't really see any reason not to extend that point. Yeah, I don't see any reason not to extend them.
Terry's going to bring in some good money, probably 61 points in 70 games, 23 of those goals. Like he's going to have a decent payday for being a goal scorer.
So I wouldn't even put them on this list because to me that doesn't make sense. This one is interesting, but again, I kind of lean away from the teams that I know have space to sign people. This one, Vince Dunn. Vince Dunn right now is making $4 million. Vince Dunn is a good hockey player, like a really good hockey player. And I'm not sure. So maybe he goes. You look at Seattle and going into next season. Yeah, going into next season, they've got $20 million in cap space. I don't think there's any reason they don't sign Vince Dunn.
And they need to sign. They've got 14 guys under contract currently.
So I mean, Vince Dunn to me seems like, hey, you're looking at a guy who's 26 years old, so he's your second youngest behind Cale Fleury, Your second youngest, tied with Will Borgen as a defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to figure Carson Soucy, maybe he walks. I mean, you don't got a lot you've got to work with. I mean, Morgan Geekie's an ARB eligible RFA. Daniel Sprong is an arbitration eligible RFA. And when you hear Daniel Sprong, you're like, isn't Daniel Sprong like 32? No, he's 26.
He's just kind of floated his way through.
Yeah, your only like UFA that you're going to re-sign is Ryan Donato. So I don't see any reason Vince Dunn doesn't get re-signed by
he really went off. I mean, it looked like he was on that route on the COVID year with St. Louis. He had 20 and 43. But last year with Seattle, he had 35 and 73. And this year, 64 points in 81 games. Huge.
Yeah, I like the point they make here is that Francis chose Dunn over game breaker Vladimir Tarasenko in the expansion draft. They said it's time for Dunn to become the highest paid defenseman in Seattle. So I think that'll absolutely happen. It's just, it's a matter of time.
Would you do Soucy though? If he walks?
I don't know.
Lefty,
I mean,
righty.
That's the 28 thing.
Years old. He'll be 29 in July.
Keep Jordan Osterley at that point. I mean, he's going to be your 7th D.
Lindstrom's likely gone.
Lindstrom's gone.
Haig's gone.
Yeah.
Osterley potentially. Pysyk, I mean, you got to think that his injuries kind of put him out of the conversation.
Okay.
So that's 4 guys. So you got Sherratt, Wallman, Mata, Seider. 4.
Yeah, but I'd go for Damon Severson before I went for Carson Soucy.
I'm just saying, but if you have the option to go for both, because we know Edvinsson's out, but you got to expect that Johansson's going to be fighting for a spot, if not already getting the spot.
Edvinsson is out through camp. He's not out.
I get that, but you still need NHL talent on the roster.
I don't know. Maybe William Wallander comes in and blows the doors down.
You can see Wallander or Albert Johansson. You got to think that one of those 2 guys got to be chomping at the bit to take that Edvinsson lost spot. And you could argue that Johansson would have been the guy that was called up first if he wasn't hurt.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm not excited to go throw money at Carson Soucy.
A solid defenseman back there.
Next on the list, Evan Bouchard. I had kind of put this out there. I could offer Evan Bouchard. Evan Bouchard plays little defense, but he's good offensively. But he's only 23.
Bouchard when he was available in the draft, and Holland didn't pick him.
Anyone in their right mind was picking Philip Zadina at that spot, so let's not.
I wasn't mad about Zadina, but I still wanted Bouchard then.
Bouchard says it's a little bit of opportunity for me. Hopefully I can take it and run with it, getting more ice time on that Oilers team. And like I said, I mean, if you're looking at a right D who's not going to provide much defense, kind of like a Philip Hronek replacement, but he's younger.
And arguably more skilled.
Sure. And he has a higher ceiling than a Philip Hronek, but what are you going to offer him? So that's the problem, is that if you look at the cap right now and you look at Edmonton's got $5.97 million available. And they have, how many contracts do they have right now? They've got 17 of 23 on the roster. So they need to sign a few guys with that $5.9 million. Bouchard is up. So he is an RFA this season. They cannot wait another season to sign him. They do have all. And what's funny too is like all their LTIR is gone. Mike Smith drops off. Oscar Klefbom drops off. Ryan Murray drops off this season. So they're going to have to make some trades if they want to keep Evan Bouchard, unless they bridge him and they say, hey, take a 2-year, $4.5 million deal or something, because right now I believe he's still on his entry level. So that's a big jump.
Yeah.
That's a big jump. I mean, if you try to offer him anything more than that, I mean, if you say, hey, we'll offer you 5x6, maybe, but I don't think anything other than that, it's going to be worth the picks, because if you offer him a 5x6, it's a 1st round pick and a 3rd round pick. And then that kind of I mean, at that point, you're handcuffing your BFF and Ken Holland over there. And 2, they've got to run back that same roster again, which they might not have a problem with.
I mean,
honestly,
if you got a top 20 pick that you're giving up a 1st rounder for, that you feel, and I think that he could be definitely worth that. If that's what you're giving up for, meaning you're giving up a 1st round pick for him, I can't be too against that. But I don't know. I mean, you could say that he had 17 points in 12 playoff games this year. The year before that, he had 9 and 16. Then you look at his regular season, you're like, where was that?
So I went back and forth with someone on this. I think you could strap skates on Jonathan Erickson tomorrow and pop him on the ice with Connor McDavid, and he'd have 40 points just simply because he's feeding Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
So I
mean,
wonder what the McDavid bump is.
17 points in 12 games, but in the regular season, you had 40 and 82.
Yeah, it's half a point a game, basically.
But still,
it's feeding McDavid. Did he get more special teams time? That's the thing.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I just wonder how much the McDavid.
He's a righty as well, which was why I kind of.
Which is the only reason that I considered it. But I don't know what the effect of the McDavid bump is. So I left him off of my offer sheet list. It's worth consideration, but in the end, I'd probably say no. I want to look at
a little bit more than what Ben Sherratt's making.
You'd have to get rid of Ben Sherratt. Like, you're going to replace the money there, but I'm not going to overpay and then say, hey, like now we've got Ben Sherratt as an anchor and we're paying another defenseman the same amount. So Ilya Samsonov is one I want to look at. There's two goalies that I want to look at. So Ilya Samsonov, I had that I would offer him 3 years, $4.5 million. Look at Toronto's cap space right now and tell me what they're going to do. And we said if they're going to keep those core four together and they've got that handcuffed Matt Murray contract, can Toronto fork up the money, the 4.5? They've got 9.9 million going into the offseason, apparently, with 14 of 23 on the roster. Guys, like we had mentioned, that are UFAs like Noel Acciari, Zach Aston Reese, Michael Bunting, David Kampf, Alex Kerfoot, Ryan O'Reilly, Wayne Simmons, who's not coming back, Eric Gustafsson, Justin Holl, Luke Shen. If I go offer Ilya Samsonov a 3-year, $4.5 million contract, that's a first rounder and a third rounder you're giving up. And I think your goaltending
team.
4.5 million, 3 years. Now, Ilya Samsonov, regular season stats, 42 games played, 2.33 goals against with a 919 save percentage.
And that was with a arguably eye of the beholder, I guess, but not a great defensive team.
No. Now, you want the juicier pick? Jeremy Swayman.
Ooh.
3 years, $5 million. Same compensation, first and a third. Boston goes into the offseason with $6 million in cap space and 14 contracts.
Or not a crazy thought, crazy fact. He's only 24 years old. Things I did not realize.
Yeah.
He won't be 25 until November, after the next season starts.
Yeah, and Boston has 14 contracts right now out of 23 with $6 million. Notable free agents: Patrice Bergeron, Tyler Bertuzzi, Nick Foligno, Garnet Hathaway, David Krejci, Thomas Nosek, Connor Clifton, and Dmitry Orlov. So either Boston tries to run it back, minus Swayman, and Swayman was really good this season. Swayman in 37 games had a 2.27 goals against and a 9.20 save percentage. He's young. He's 24. And if you went into the season with Swayman arguably in Husso splitting time, give him 50-50 net starts.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually you trade Husso or Husso goes out. Kosa comes in as Swayman's backup. That's like the perfect age to pick up another goalie. He's at like 24, which is why I was looking like Carter Hart's around the same age.
Yep.
But if you had to give up a first and a third for Swayman, and you got him for 3 years, $5 million, I mean, that solves your goaltender issue. 100%.
I would try to sign him for 4 to 5.
Which is, yeah, I mean, you're looking at, if you go up to 5 years on an offer sheet, it doesn't screw with numbers or compensation or anything. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, you could say 5 years, $5 million, 5 years, $6 million, whatever. Mm-hmm. You've got the cap space to do it. That's the thing, is we've got so much cap space where you're not even at the floor. So I think that's the juicier one for me is go offer sheet Jeremy Swayman. Fuck you, Boston. We took your first round pick next season and we offer sheeted your goalie.
Yeah, but then we
Like,
give him one back.
that's fine. We'll give him ours. We would have basically swapped picks next season and threw in a third
For Jeremy Swayman.
for Jeremy Swayman.
I'd be good with that.
I would be absolutely good with that. And I think they might be good with that too, because in 2024, they don't have their first, they don't have their second, they don't have a third.
We've got it. Now,
So if we give them a first and a third,
could jump to 25, but
possibly.
That's a long shot.
Yeah. But if you look at it, they would get a first round pick and they would get a third round pick. In 2024, they don't have 3 picks they don't have a pick in the first 3 rounds. So if you look and say, hey, is Patrice Bergeron retiring? Is David Krejci retiring? Then you got to start looking at, hey, we're going to start needing some draft picks. Like we've got Pasta. Brad Marchand's 35.
Which is crazy to me.
How much gas in the tank? He's got 2 years left at $6.125 million. How much gas in the tank does Brad Marchand have?
I think he'll be good. He's he's obviously better than a David Perron, arguably, but I shouldn't even say arguably. But 2 years
he just
at
got
35.
what, double hip surgery?
He just turned 35 in May, so he'll be 37 by the time he's done. I mean,
but you got to think about the future. Like, who's your replacement in 2 years for Brad Marchand? Who's your replacement? Jake DeBrusk. Are you going to sign Jake DeBrusk after next season? After he went back and forth with the trade me thing, and then he's fine.
He's gone.
Are you keeping Taylor Hall? He's 31. He's got 2 seasons left.
I think Taylor Hall has to be a guy that you think about trading.
So
Pasternak, it still blows my mind that he actually went through signing that contract with all the uncertainty going on. But I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do.
That's a team that's got a lot to think about. And are they going to fall off a cliff? No.
Are they going to? That was going to happen this year.
Now I see maybe next year a slow decline. They're not going to repeat this season. Unless they bring back the entire roster, they're not going to repeat this season. They can't bring back the entire roster.
I mean, for the most part, they're in a good spot defensively. It's where's the goals going to come from? And are they going to fully rely on a top 6, much like Toronto? Or are they going to have to make a move like a trading off of a Taylor Hall or a Charlie Coyle because he's got an extra year on there? Like, do they make that move to try to supplement?
But even trading a Taylor Hall, do you trade Taylor Hall to re-sign Tyler Bertuzzi? Like, that's the thing is you look and like Bert's a UFA. He really helped them in the playoffs. He was a big playoff guy for them.
Right.
Nick Foligno. Nick Foligno's 35, so not that big of a deal. Garnet Hathaway, he's a lot of grit for that team. They're one that I think is in. They weren't in trouble this season. Next season,
thought they were only because of injuries, though.
This offseason, they have a lot to deal with. And I think if you go offer Swayman at like a $5 million contract, it would be something they would really, really have to think about. Because they don't have any players on LTIR, 0. Mm-hmm. And they've got 1 more year of Mike Riley buyout. I guess I'm not sure where they go, but I think that's one that has a chance of working simply because of the capital they get back, knowing what's going to be leaving. They're going to get picks back, knowing that they're going to have to replace guys, and they're going to have to start rebuilding at some point. And I think if they do, the quicker they do it, the better. So Jeremy Swayman would be my pick for a goalie offer sheet. That'd be a good one.
I'd be good with that.
Last time I list for offer sheets is Alexis Lafreniere, 21 years old. I think that New York has really screwed up his development. This season in 81 games, he had 16 goals, 23 assists for 39 points. In the playoffs, he had 0 points in 7 games. 0. In 27 playoff games, he has 9 points. I feel like he's the ultimate fresh start candidate. He's a left wing. The Rangers have $11 million into the offseason with notable free agents Patrick Kane, Vladimir Tarasenko, Tyler Mott, Keandre Miller's an RFA, Nico Mikola's a UFA.
Would you go after him? Miller?
Keandre Miller, he's a good player. I'm trying to think of who you'd have a better chance getting. Who do they have more faith in right now? Alexis Lafreniere or Keandre Miller?
Miller. If your answer is anything but Miller in that situation, you're crazy.
Okay, so you have a better chance of getting Lafreniere on an offer sheet then.
Fair.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then they've got Jarro Halak, who's a UFA as well. He's 38 years old. You got to think Halak is really close to retiring. Do they want to keep? I don't see why they would trade for Patrick Kane and then not sign him for like 3 more years.
You got to think or expect that he's going to take a hell of a pay cut.
Sure, but I don't think he's going to take under, say, $5 million.
Probably.
$6 million. What was he making? 10?
Yeah, 10 and a half.
So maybe he says, give me 8. That's a $2 million pay cut. Vladimir Tarasenko. Tarasenko's 31. You've got to think they're going to try and sign Tarasenko. Given the injury history and everything, you still got to think they're going to sign him. So those are 2 guys that are going to command. Those 2 players alone will take up your $11 million. But what do you value more? You're going to try and win. And right now, Lafreniere is not helping you win now. He could help you win in the future. But if you're trying to win now, you made these moves to win now. You went out and you got Kane to win now. You went out and you got Tarasenko to win now.
It's hard for me because you look at Tarasenko, he'll be 32 in December. Kane will be 35 in November. Mm-hmm. When you look at year over year, though, Vladdy has not been healthy over the last 5 years.
Absolutely not. Nope.
Kane, let's take a quick look there. I was trying to pull up the player comparison finder on Hockey Reference, and I couldn't find it. But Patrick Kane, however, not much better, but still, he's other than 2020, the COVID season, he's played at least 70 games a year, going back to 2014-15. So do you go for the guy that's managed to stay healthy for a longer period of time, but 3 years older, or the playmaker that's a couple of years younger that you could probably get a little bit more out of and likely pay less?
I would
it's almost
say
like a Robbie Fabry situation.
Yeah, but if they're I would say though that, like I said, if they're trying to win now, I get a couple more years out of Patrick Kane and I get a few more years out of Tarasenko.
Okay.
So the comp, what the comp is, if I offered 5 years to Lafreniere for $4 million a season, which I think that's fair. That's a 2nd round pick, Ryan.
For a former number 1.
1 2nd round pick for a former 1st overall.
I'd do it.
These are ones that I think if I'm New York, I've got to consider it, because you've got Panarin, who's there until 2026, 27, who you're trying to win with. You've got Mika, who's extended again through eternity, 2029, 30.
Core locked down.
Trocheck is locked down until 28, 29. Adam Fox is locked down until 28, 29. They've got 3 more years of Trouba.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your core guys. And
Lindgren's a guy you're going to have to figure out.
You didn't deserve Alexis Lafreniere in the first place because you basically made the playoffs that year and then won the lottery. So I guess that is one where I think that would make the Rangers really think. They'd really have to think on it. Would you do it, though? Would you give him the 5 years, $4 million?
Yes. And the only reason is he's 21 years old. We have seen flashes of what can happen. Now, it's tricky in a way in the sense that you could say that he's been sheltered, but you could also say that Gallant and his history basically kept him from being what he could be. But now you move him to Detroit with a smaller market, arguably, just because of the size of the city and media and what have you. But you give him more of an opportunity to come in and make an impact on a young and upcoming team. You're losing several big-time stars because Detroit doesn't have a Panarin, a Zibanejad, or a Kreider. But now he can come in to make his name and make himself like that.
You're freeing him up.
Yeah. And if you did it for 4 to 5 years at a decent contract, you're taking him through, I'm assuming, to UFA, correct, with that one?
I think if you sign Lafreniere for 5 years,
it would,
yeah. Yep, you're walking him to RFA.
So, and
UFA
by that
status.
point, you have to make the hope and assumption that Detroit's a playoff, like a contending team by then.
Oh, in 5 years, if we're not, there's a big problem.
So now you've got a guy that hopefully is the one contributing to that, and he'll be 26 years old.
Yep, that's prime window. And you hope he develops into a top 6 left wing. And It's a good situation, I think, for both teams because
and he's not small. He's 6'1", 193. Like,
I just think that Gerard Gallant hates children. I think that's the one that if he sees a child on the street, I think he walks up to them and kicks them. I think that's what happens because I think he destroyed Capo Caco's come on a little bit more, but he killed those kids, I think. And I think moving Lafreniere would be a good change of scenery. It's, I think, similar to what might happen if Zadina moved to another team, like just got a fresh start in a different situation.
Kind of needs to happen, basically.
Like a reboot. So that would be my that's my list. That's my list of RFAs that I think are worth taking a look at for offer sheets. Some more likely than others. I think Swayman would be a really likely one to happen. I think Lafreniere is probably the second most likely one to happen. Samsonov and Caulfield are two kind of long shots. I also want to give a shout out before we sign off tonight to Brian Fisher over on Locked On Red Wings, who just I was mowing the lawn listening to Locked On Red Wings, and he's going through the assistant coach names. He's like Bob Bugner, and along with video coach LJ Scarpace, and I'm like, oh man, I'm like, Brian, that is the most Italian way you could have said that man whose last name is pronounced Scarpace.
I appreciate the fact that you did the hand motion with it, where you turned it over and did them.
It's LJ Scarpace, that's his name. I said it's like Scarface if he was
so much more fun to say Scarpace.
If he was a mild salsa. If Scarface was a mild salsa, it'd be Scarpace. And I said, no, I'm all for making it as Italian as possible. I will go full Italian when I say LJ Scarpace. And he's great with Robbie Fabry and Joe Veleno. That's they all go together very nicely.
Oh, yeah.
But I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was really funny. Brian made me laugh while mowing my lawn, so I thank him. But Ryan, I want to get your final thoughts before we sign off.
No, final thoughts are go watch playoff hockey because it's been utter chaos and fantastic. So if you haven't been watching it, you're missing out. And I highly encourage you to do so, like I'm about to as soon as we sign off. But other than that, we are officially in the off season, and we have are we a month away officially yet from the draft?
The 28th is the draft. So I will be down at LCA for the draft. Ryan, will you be down at LCA with me for the draft on the 28th?
I should be around because that's leading right into the 4th of July holiday. So there's no reason why I shouldn't be there.
Ryan will be accompanying me to LCA where we give away stickers and stuff, and we drink beer, have fun, and have random reactions to players we know absolutely nothing about because it's Steve Yzerman and he doesn't pick people who we think he's going to pick. So
one of these days we're going to have Tony here so we can look at him and be like, what was this? Was it good?
Who is this man, Tony? Please tell us more. Are you going to sign off, Ryan?
I already ran.
You can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. You follow Brian. Jesus Christ, we're the Brine Line podcast.
Wow,
now.
Brian. Ooh.
Oh Lord. You can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. You can follow the Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. Go over to our YouTube channel, please, and click the subscribe button. Turn on the notifications. You'll get notified whenever our episodes go live. To watch our pretty faces, I might turn on that new thing. I used it for the last one. NVIDIA dashboard. It's called NVIDIA Broadcaster. Has a thing that you can turn on that no matter where you're looking, it makes your eyes go to the camera. And that's I used it. Shit. It's kind of creepy. It's good for solo videos. It'd be really weird, I think, for group videos. But it's good for solo videos because it makes it look like this, like you're paying attention and you're staring directly at the camera, which is really creepy. But when I'm talking to you guys, I have to look at you guys to be able to actually focus.
Yeah.
So, So I'd like to give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network at HockeyPodNet on Twitter for hosting us and spreading our podcast around. We also like to give a shout out to Vintage Detroit, where you should get all your Detroit jerseys from and worked on. If you use a promo code GRINDLINE at Howie's Hockey Tape, you get 10% off your order. If you use that same promo code at Bring Hockey Back, you get 12% off your order. And you can check out our merch at redbubble.com by searching the Grind Line. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Ryan, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.